Talk 580 1059 KMJ. Welcome to Brothers-in-Law. I'm Marc Kapetan, your host. Brothers-in-Law is brought to you by the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm, serving the Central Valley since 1995. If you or anybody you know has been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, give us a call at 559-498-8000. Or if you've been cited or arrested for a criminal offense, call us 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers, we are the Valley's law firm. Well, folks, we are going to be in store for a delicious hour of Kapetan Brothers show. We have Jon Koobatian, formerly of Jon's Bear Club. Welcome, Jon.
Thank you, Mark. It's really a pleasure for being here.
Yeah, I tell you what, Jon, I am thrilled because I've seen you throughout the years, and I had the fortune, before you left Jon's Bear Club, I had the fortune of actually having a great dinner at your place for my birthday about 7 years ago. When did you close up Jon's Bear Club?
I sold it and retired in 2013.
So,
after being there 40 years.
40, I heard 41 years or something to that effect. Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm blown away by the fact that was 7 years ago, because we had such a great time, and it's just still so vivid in my memory. You know, I love it.
I remember the evening, in fact, because of very close friend Frank Arnold.
That's right.
He said, "Jon, I'm going to bring some friends over, fix things up for us." And
I think you
folks were having a good time.
We were having a good time. I think you were getting ready to start closing shop over there, right?
Well, you know, it's something that we had been considering. You've got to have an exit plan. And if that's what you're referring to, or
right.
Toward the end of the evening.
Yeah, right. No, I mean that it was your exit plan as far as your business was concerned there, right?
And that's correct. We'd been there for a good time. We went through 2 recessions.
Right.
And felt like it was time to turn it over to someone else and let them...
It's a tough business, right?
It's very tough. The most difficult part, frankly, are employees. The creative aspect of doing food, creating food, and cooking is a joy. But when you have to be that manager and all those, wear all those hats,
right.
That's where the challenges come in.
You know, let me do something and properly introduce you. You were the owner of Jon's Bear Club in Reedley, California, for 40 years. You are a chef and the owner, but you also wrote a cookbook called Cooking with Jon that is sold, thousands of copies here in the Valley, and I read it myself. I love it. It's a great book, right?
I needed to do something after retiring. I was spending too much time in front of the computer playing online poker.
Oh, really? Gambler, are you?
So my wife said, you've got to do something.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you just a quick little story.
Yeah.
I sat down and I created a page and a half, typewritten, of what I thought would be an intro.
And I know about this because you gave it to your wife and she didn't like it, did she?
She did not like it.
And what did she tell you?
It took the wind right out of my sail.
Didn't she tell you something like, what does this have to do with cooking?
It's exactly what she said. And so I put it down, and about a year later,
right,
I sat down again and went after it. And at that time, I thought, who do I want to help me with this?
Right.
And I went to my friend Frank Arnold. And,
you couldn't go back to your wife again after.
See, the thing with my wife is an English major, a graduate at Washington State University.
Right.
And she has a couple of book clubs, and she's thinking about the books that her club reads.
Right.
And she wants us to read like a novel that they're reading. And I said, honey, I'm just having a conversation in my book. That's what I want it to be.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was it about those first 1.5 pages that she didn't quite get? She thought it was a recipe book, basically?
I think she thought it was a recipe book,
Right.
and I was trying to show a little background leading up to
Right.
My story
Right.
about my early days out of high school.
And listen, I'm sure she was completely supportive after you got into it. You finally went back to Frank Arnold and you decided, hey, let's write this together, basically, right?
Frank, I thought, would be a very creative. I needed his creativity in helping put the book together. It was
Right.
one thing for me to start writing. I didn't want it to be just a recipe book, because you can get that. You can do those things online.
Well, what's interesting is you start off the book with something that is nothing about recipes. You start off saying that this book is the child that I've never had.
And that's correct.
I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Is this representing? It's your offspring. It's representing your sum total of life and what you have to offer to people. Is that what you meant by that?
I didn't have any children, and I felt like I've raised a lot of kids through employees. I feel like I raised countless teenagers. So you have that turnover of kids,
Right.
And but I never did. I don't have any children, biological children of my own.
But see, I didn't get it. I thought basically you were saying that the recipes themselves were your children, but you're also including the fact that of all the knowledge you gave to these young kids that worked for you all those years.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that was the whole idea to kind of, this is my child, this is my, if you will, and I think I say in there that it's sweet and savory and
you say something to the effect of it's sweet and savory and it's created shared with love or something to that effect, right?
Correct. So that was my intro.
Do you see cooking and the cookbook itself? Do you see basically as it being representing your existence all these years?
I think it really represents my ethnic background, coming
Right.
from an Armenian family. Food, being around the table, is critical to our heritage.
Right.
So I learned at an early age to cook and help my grandmother in the kitchen.
But when it comes to the book and in these words, and I know you're thinking of a nice intro to say, but I see what you're saying there, and I don't mean to be so philosophical about it, but people don't understand that cooking is like an art. It comes from somewhere within, right?
The creative aspect comes from inside. The whole idea is to please your customer.
Right.
Or please your family member, whoever you're cooking for.
Right.
So that's the whole hospitality aspect, particularly of being in the restaurant business.
So you talk about the Armenian heritage and stuff, and I've always seen the Greeks, we had yayas and grandmothers and stuff, and it is to please the customer or the family member, but isn't it ultimately the good feeling that you get, so it's to please yourself, that you are pleasing these other people?
The pleasure comes from when you have a happy guest. The pleasure comes from that empty plate, or the pleasure comes from when they come back in the kitchen.
Right.
Chef, do you mind sharing the recipe? How did you do that? What was your thought behind doing that?
Right.
The idea of putting things together, using creative things and putting different tastes and flavors together.
We are on with Jon Koobatian, former owner of the John's Bear Club in Reedley, California, and author of the new book, Cooking with Jon. We'll be right back after this. This is Brothers-in-Law on KMJ. News Talk 580 1059 KMJ. Welcome back to Brothers-in-Law. I'm Marc Kapetan, your host. Brothers-in-Law, as always, is brought to you by the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm, serving the Central Valley since 1995. If you or anybody you know has been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, give us a call at 559-498-8000. Or if you've been arrested or cited for a criminal offense, call us 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers. We are the Valley's law firm. We are back on with Jon Koobatian from the John's Bear Club out in Reedley, or formerly from John's Bear Club out in Reedley. You miss it? You miss that restaurant?
More than anything, I miss the employees and I miss my customers.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. We were talking about the art, basically, of cooking. By the way, everybody out there, pick up John's book. It's called Cooking with Jon, Professional Recipes that you can make at home. Can I make it at home, really?
You can. You certainly can.
Actually, I do love to cook. I am a cook. I learned, same as you, probably, from my grandmother back in the day. Never measuring anything, always a pinch of this and a handful of this, right?
That's exactly right. I remember specifically my sister and I standing, probably 10 years old, standing next to the stove, watching my grandmother make what she called drop cakes, were little puffed up pancakes that she would fry for us.
Oh, really?
And in fact, they're in the book.
Oh, that's the recipe that I saw. Okay,
they're in the book.
Right.
So it's all about having fun.
I'll tell you, it was so important to me cooking with my grandmother that, and I hate like heck that I've sold this, but I kept her oven in the garage for about 40 years now. And about 2 years ago, there was a lady who was looking for an old oven, a young lady out of, I think, the coast. And I let her buy it. And I said, only if you do one thing, you have to name it after my grandmother. So there's an oven named Belle out there, somewhere near San Luis Obispo. So
what a great story. Wow.
So you have an Armenian culture, you're an Armenian family. And like you said, cooking with your grandmother, the kitchen is the center of that, many of these cultures, right?
The kitchen is the center, but it's also, it begins there, but then it's the family, it's talking around the table. How many families today actually sit down and eat dinner around the table? And that's the way we grew up.
Yeah, it's funny. We'd turn off the TV, or sometimes we'd have the TV on because it was the 60s basically and 70s, and you just always had that TV on back then. But all the negotiations, all the family discussions occur around that table, right? That's
exactly right. But I will tell you, one of the most outstanding memories is my dad was involved in World War II, so he came home from Normandy.
Oh, really?
And so I found this in the restaurant. Men of that era really enjoy French fries, and my dad would make French fries for himself. He would share, but they were essentially for him. Dad was making French fries at least twice a week, sometimes 2-3 times a week.
I'll tell you, you go to Europe, and whether you go to Greece, whether you go wherever, they'll have your meal, and they always ask you, "Would you like some French fries?" It's amazing how that just took over like a storm over there in Europe.
It's kind of funny. So naturally, in the business, how can we do something? How can we create a starch, something that's outside of French fries, and be creative and have some fun?
Did you find that basically that elusive potato recipe?
The secret for him was, and he didn't peel the potatoes. He liked to just wash them and wanted those skins on. But it's about washing those potatoes and then actually drying them and dropping them into cornstarch, and then frying them, and that's where you get the crispness.
I've never heard that one.
Absolutely.
Cornstarch.
I've
heard doing them twice, doing them, soaking them in cold water, etc., but cornstarch.
Cornstarch is the next step.
Your dad owned an interiors company in Dinuba, right?
Edwards Interiors. My dad was an interior decorator, and I'd go out and help him on occasion. Yeah. And that made me realize that that's not something I wanted to follow in my dad's footsteps. I loved my dad. I In fact, I was going to go to pharmacy school
Oh,
and
wow.
be a pharmacist. And I had an automobile accident in a 1961 Super 90 Roadster Porsche.
And one of many Porsches you
went
owned, it,
through
from
a
what I
few
understand.
Porsches. And lying in the hospital, recuperating, I decided I need to do something else. And I went away to Lake Tahoe, and it really began from there.
Yeah, I understand. With you and your dad, you guys were in an apartment that it was over the business, that it was so small that you and your sister shared a closet as your bedroom.
That's exactly correct. And we had a little window. We'd stand up in our crib and look out the window at the customers that they'd come in.
So Dad was always into customer service, and you had a bit of that in you too.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you're in a accident. I understand that while you were in Dinuba, you had a job at what was it, Tatum's Food Locker?
Tatum Food Locker. I was in high school, and I was in the Explorer Scouts, and our leader was Frank Tatum. Our specialty was aquatics. He would take us out to Pine Flat Dam, and we'd ski boats. And then after school, I went over there and learned how to bone out steer, because they would do a lot of meat cutting.
Right.
And that's where I learned to handle a knife.
And I thought it was sort of significant that you pointed that out, that you learned how to handle a knife, because to me, that seems to be the essence of a good chef. When I see a chef cook, that's one thing. When I see him butcher his own meat, that's a whole nother art form, basically, right?
Well, holding your knife, which is next to your hands, your knives are the most important tools you have in the kitchen.
It's like a primal thing almost.
So being able to properly cut vegetables, cut meat, cut fish, whatever you're doing,
Right.
Having that knowledge of knowing how to hold the knife, how to sharpen a knife,
Right.
Makes your job a lot easier.
But doesn't it also get you, and I don't want to get too philosophical about it, but doesn't it also get you in touch more with the product that you have? Instead of buying a steak that comes already pre-cut, you know what the tender piece is, you know whether this is a good animal or a bad animal, you know what next time you go to buy something, whether it's going to be a quality piece, right?
I learned a lot from that, and I learned a lot on how to really properly cut and trim a steak. So many times when you buy a steak in the store, they leave a gristle over the cap of a New York steak, and all that needs to be trimmed off. And
right.
So those are just tricks.
Is that the silver, what do they call it?
Silver skin.
The silver skin, right? Right.
Yeah.
You eventually take off to Lake Tahoe, and you become a busboy at a casino up there, right?
I did. I was 18, 19 years old, living in Lake Tahoe.
How great.
Driving a Porsche Speedster.
Your second Porsche, because you bought a 56 after the 61, right?
I had a 61 Super 90, and that's when the accident happened.
Right.
And then I got back into another Porsche Speedster, went to Tahoe with that. And so life was pretty good for
a young
guy driving a Porsche.
You came. You worked. Where was it up in Tahoe?
I actually worked at North Shore at the Nevada Lodge, which was right on the state line.
Right.
Cal Neva Lodge at that time was owned by Frank Sinatra.
That's right.
It was right at the tail end of when they started to when he sold it. But I remember seeing Frank there. Sammy Davis Jr.
No kidding.
That's back in the day.
Back when they were just idols, right?
That was like in the late 60s.
How exciting. Any encounters personally with the guys?
Pardon?
Any encounters personally?
No personal encounters.
No.
No.
Did you ever have a chance to cook for any of them?
I'm not going to share the personal encounter that I had. There was a personal encounter from a gentleman that had a ranch in Reno.
Hold on to that thought. We're going to be right back with Jon Koobatian from Jon's Bear Club out there in Reedley. This is Brothers-in-Law on KMJ. We're going to hear the secrets right after this. News Talk 580-1059 KMJ. Welcome back to Brothers-in-Law. I'm Marc Kapetan, your host. Brothers-in-Law is brought to you by the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm, serving the Central Valley since 1995. I'm serious, folks. If you or anybody you know has been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, please give us a call at 559-498-8000. Our awesome staff is waiting to get your call, and we'll help you right away, I promise. If you have been arrested or cited for a criminal offense, call us 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers. We are the Valley's law firm. Again, we are on with Jon Koobatian, formerly of Jon's Bear Club, that used to be out there in Reedley. You were telling us a little secret story about one of the nefarious times you had in Tahoe during your time as a kid.
I was working...
I keep on forgetting. Listen, I'm not a DJ, so I keep on forgetting to turn on your mic. Go for it.
It was a time when I was working at the Christmas Tree Inn, which was up on the top of Mount Rose. And it was a steakhouse with an exhibition kitchen. We had a live big fire. And we would have celebrities that would often come in from Reno, would come up the mountain. Several times there was a gentleman by the name of Joe Conforti,
right,
who was the owner of Mustang Ranch.
That name just sounds wrong, right? Yeah, okay.
And he was quite a character. He would always bring a couple of his lady friends, and if he enjoyed the evening and his dinner, his steak, invariably he would give the chef, if the chef was out there that night, or there were times when I'd be out in front. Right. And he actually gave me his card for an opportunity to come to his business, of which I never got a chance to go down.
That's for a little freebie there, huh?
I wish I still had it as a
You wish
souvenir.
You still had the card? Oh, yeah, as a souvenir. Okay, souvenir. I was about to say, please don't tell your wife. Yeah. That's funny. You know, you said you were doing exhibition service, basically dinners in front of these, celebrities and characters out there in Tahoe. You do. I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but you basically do exhibition cooking lessons now, right?
Before the COVID started, I have partnered with Nick at Sam's Deli,
right,
and Nick allowed me to do some dinners. Right. Usually were multi-course, 5-course dinners. He would pair the wines, right, up to 40 guests, and we would sell those things out on a regular basis. We did them quarterly.
Wow.
And then in between, I thought, he suggested that I do some cooking classes.
Right.
So we were doing some cooking classes, and they got that going, and then COVID came and shut us down.
I can imagine. Yeah. Hopefully you could get back to that quickly. Did you get that did you have that feeling from doing it back in the day in Tahoe? Do you have a bit of that hamminess in you where you like to perform for people like that?
Hammy, that's interesting. I've always felt like I've been pretty conservative, kind of laid back, and not necessarily an out there guy. But you get, as you well know, get energy from your audience. You get energy from the customers out there. So by talking about the courses to them, getting some questions from them, you get that energy.
Well, I didn't mean it as an offense, because look at me, I'm on the radio. I got to be a big ham myself. So it's funny that though you say you describe yourself as this mild-mannered guy, and I understand that, except for the fact that you at one point were a race car driver, right?
Well, my dad bought my sister and I, Marilyn Hamilton, a go-kart when we were 10, and I was 10 years old.
Right.
So that's where it really started. And then a very close friend in high school, Richard Tomajan, Don Schuster and Dinuba. Richard took me to Laguna Seca to the car races in 1962.
Oh, wow.
And I was hooked after that. And
you were already into it because of the Porsches, right, before that?
Well, I was too young for that. I didn't have. I graduated in '66, so I wasn't quite.
Oh, I see.
Didn't have my license yet, but the enthusiasm of standing outside the fence and looking in, I said to myself, one of these days I'm going to do that. And I feel blessed that I got a chance.
Did you ever do Laguna Seca?
I have, in fact, a track record in qualifying.
Really?
In GT2 at Laguna Seca.
Was this in the Datsun 510?
In the Datsun 510 sedan.
A great car, by the way, for racing, right?
You know, the car handled just incredibly.
Yeah.
And
they say it's
I
the
could
most...
just make that car dance. I just felt like I was within one with the car.
They say it's the most balanced car there is out there.
It is. The independent suspension,
right.
Had good power. And
how's it the first time going down the corkscrew at Laguna Seca?
Oh, it's great. Are you kidding? You just...
They said straight down.
Point it and go.
Which, again, from your own self-description just a little bit earlier, just sounds so contrary to what this mild-mannered guy that appears before me.
To be frank and honest, Mark, if I had a choice, I would have preferred to have been a professional race car driver. That was my dream.
Right.
But I couldn't afford to do that any more than... ending up being a chef.
And especially after being in an accident, right? I mean, did that scare you off from that or no?
That didn't bother me at all.
Really?
You know, I had mentors like Milt Minner.
The great Milt Minner.
You know, the awesome, iconic Milt Minner.
Actually had a chance to meet him once. Yeah, just icon, yeah.
Just a fun fella to be around.
So let me ask you, I mean, this is a stupid radio question. What scares you more? Being on that track and the danger and wrecking, or making a meal that someone doesn't like?
Definitely the meal.
Really?
Being on the course was never fearful for me because I felt like I was in control. After the biggest equalizer is a fresh set of tires. The confidence that you get from a fresh set of tires, you just know that I can hold it down going through turn 4 at Laguna Seca.
Funny enough, Frank Arnold, a race car driver, artist, said, and your pal, said he used to go buy everybody's used tires and would wipe their butts with used tires, basically.
Well, that's a skill, and Frank certainly had tremendous success.
Yeah, he really
in his day.
Do you see racing in any way in relation to cooking?
I'm going to use a term I'm going to borrow one from Scott Pruitt. Racing is a matter of hundreds of seconds, and cooking is a matter of time, preparation.
Oh, I didn't.
So,
that's an interesting concept because I didn't think the answer would be anything like that. It's cooking, whether it's caramelizing onions or something like that. It's a matter of timing, length of time. It develops the result develops where it's instantaneous when it comes to
racing. And that's exactly right. They develop where when you're in a car, everything is instinctive.
Do you see, now to me, being a young guy back in the day, and I did racing too, autocross racing, it was almost an act of relaxation by doing something that's very aggressive. Did you see cooking or racing as an act of like aggression or getting out a passion that you have?
I think because of the focus when you're racing, the focus is so intense at the moment that you have a freer time in the kitchen, but that being able to focus gives you that ability to focus in the kitchen on multitasking, getting things done. You've got 7 tickets, 10 tickets that you're working at the same time. So I think there's a great correlation there in terms of focus.
We are on with Jon Koobatian, former owner of Jon's Bear Club. We will be right back after this. This is KMJ. Talk 580 1059 KMJ. Welcome back to Brothers-in-Law. I'm Marc Kapetan, your host. As always, Brothers-in-Law is brought to you by the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm, serving the Central Valley since 1995. If you or anybody you know has been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, give us a call at 559-498-8000. Or if you've been arrested or cited for a criminal offense, call us at 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers. We are the Valley's law firm. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, Kapetan Brothers Law Firm. Is that right, Marcella?
That is correct.
Thank you, Marcella, for reminding me. Marcella, my producer, thanks a bunch. Also, we are in here with Jon Koobatian, former owner of Jon's Bear Club, also writer of the cookbook Cooking with Jon. Jon, where can we get the cookbook?
You can get the cookbook from me by my email, jonsbearclub@gmail.com.
jonsbearclub@gmail.com. And I understand you want to make an offer to the listeners.
I do. For those listeners, if they, in the email, mention Brothers-in-Law, the book normally sells for $32.95 plus tax.
Right.
We're going to give it to you for $25.
It's $32.95 with tax, shipping, all that stuff. It comes out to about $40-$50, but you'll give it to it for $25.
$25 for the book. If I have to mail it, then naturally shipping and mailing would be on postage would be on top of that.
Well, I tell you what, it is a great book. The pictures are, like you said, they're beautiful pictures. Although you said you didn't want to be crazy with the pictures, you wanted to show what the meal would actually come out looking like, right?
People are interested in pictures. They get a better feel for what the result of the recipe.
Right.
So I tried to do, I did, in fact, all of the photography in the book. There were many that were rejected because Frank said they're just not they're not of good enough quality.
Let me ask you, is Frank's hamburger recipe in there? Because he said he would go there anywhere in the world. He would go there for a hamburger steak.
Frank loved the hamburger steak at the restaurant.
What is it about the hamburger steak?
Well, it was in the seasoning. The seasoning was the secret. I
And is that in the book?
That. It's secret. The seasoning is not in the book.
Oh, come on now.
Not in the book, but everything else is.
I will talk to you off the air about that one. Okay, so you are now in Tahoe. You come back from Tahoe and you go work for some Greek friends of mine, right?
For the Vallis family, Marie Vallis was through a friend, and they contacted me and said, "Are you willing to come to work? We just need a part-time chef."
They had the Vallis restaurant out of Kingsburg?
Vallis restaurant in Kingsburg.
It was a legendary place, right?
Truly legendary.
And they said people, I went there again in one of their last months that they were open, but they said back in the day people would come from hundreds of miles just to go to Vallis.
People came from everywhere. I'm going to tell another cute little quick story. When I was hired by Marie, right after I was hired, her eldest son, Jim, came in to me and he took me aside. He says, "Jon, I want you to understand this is just a part-time job for you, and you're not going to get any of our recipes, and you're not going to take anything away from here." I said, "I'm just here to help." "No problem, Jim." So from there, we've been in a wine group together since 1996. We've been together.
Oh, really?
We continue to drink wine as a group once a month.
That's fine. And Jim's in the group with you?
Yes.
Did you know at the time that he was giving you all these caveats that he was an attorney?
Well, that I knew right up front. He told me that right up front.
Yeah. He's like, you could work here, but you have to sign a contract and a non-disclosure agreement, et cetera, right?
There you go. Yeah.
How did you come by owning the Bear Club?
Wow. I came back from Lake Tahoe because I wanted to go to culinary school in New York, the Culinary Institute of America.
Right.
I was too late to get in the fall semester, and I needed to take a job. My wife at the time, my first wife, Deanna, She says, let's go to the Bear Club and have a cocktail. So it really started where I met Mike Raffel and Willard Duddy,
right,
who were the original owners of the Bear Club.
Okay, so there was an original Bear Club in Reedley, and then eventually they built a new one, right?
The original Bear Club actually started in 1951.
How did it get that name?
There was a carnival that would come to town, and this Red Gaylord, who had this beer bar and six-stool beer bar, two-pump gas station, went over and bought this, was fascinated by a bear painting, and he took it back to the restaurant, to his bar,
Yeah.
and decided to call it the Bear Club.
Really? Only a guy named Red would come up with that concept.
Red Gaylord.
So eventually they sell the Bear Club to you, and you dub it John's Bear Club.
They sell it to me in 1985. So I started with them in 73.
Yeah.
And then they retired in 85. I bought it in 85. And the Bear Club had a tremendous reputation, and I just wanted to personalize it, so I put my name in front of it.
Did you personalize in other ways, or with recipes or anything like that?
We really elevated it from there. It was originally just the steak and potatoes place.
Right.
And then I tried to be, you want to be creative. And,
Sure.
And that creativity branched out into fresh fish, playing with duck, and
Right.
just having some fun with pasta. We were not just a steak and potatoes place. We had fun and tried to play with the seasons and the things that
Right.
were available. My gosh, the fruit basket of the world, the valley here.
You said that inspired you, the fact that you, at any time of the season, there was something different out there in the crops of the Central Valley, and that really inspired you.
Farmers often, who are our great customers, always were bringing me fruit, bringing me grapes,
Right.
bringing me produce to play with. A great friend, John Hurley, who would bring me heirloom tomatoes, the most beautiful heirloom tomatoes that you
Right.
imaginable.
And do you think that kind of art is missing in some of these bigger chain restaurants and things like that, that they don't look at what's around them?
That was back in the day. Today, it's very commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
So you have several places here in town that are very, very creative. That there's some great food here in Fresno
Right.
to be had.
You miss it? You miss the restaurant business?
I really do. Again, I miss the employees. I miss
Interacting with the customers.
Exactly.
Yeah. Where else can we get the book? What else you got going on? You were doing signings for a while. You're doing cooking demonstrations, etc.
The COVID has really set us back.
Yeah.
The book is will be available at the Market on Herndon and West
Great place, by the way.
Avenues here.
Yeah.
It's also available at Sam's Deli.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only two places, and it's available online.
And then
I didn't
online,
even thinking about
like
Amazon.
you said,
it's available on Amazon.
Yeah, and on Amazon, and also email johnsbearclub@gmail.com, and he'll get it to you for $25 if you mention brothers-in-law, right?
You save a few bucks by getting it from me directly, and then I will dedicate it for you.
Oh, oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
all
nice.
the
I
books,
appreciate it.
I'm the distributor, so all the books come or go out through me, and they get dedicated.
Well, I'll tell you, I miss the restaurant. I can't wait to see you out there and maybe take one of the cooking classes. I would love to do that with you. Is there any final words you got to say before you leave?
I just want to say thank you. Just great being here with another creative individual.
You're talking about Marcella that's sitting over here, right? That is very sweet for you to say. I love cooking. I would love to take my grandmother's recipes and your grandmother's recipes and sit there and work with you one day and try it out. I would love to sit in the kitchen with you. Jon, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
This has been Brothers-in-Law on KMJ. We'll see you next week.